Welcome to StoryNews English. Today, we dive into a question that could define the next decade: the next global trade war. What if the world was on the brink of another global trade war, one even bigger than the US-China clash we witnessed a few years ago? Could your smartphone cost double? Could your job disappear overnight because of a decision made thousands of miles away? These are not hypothetical questions anymore. According to the World Trade Organization, global trade growth is slowing to its lowest level in decades, and tensions between economic giants are heating up again. Tariffs, sanctions, and economic blockades are making a comeback. But this is not just about numbers, charts, and GDP. It's about farmers in Brazil who cannot sell their soybeans, engineers in Germany who face layoffs, and families in Asia paying more for basic goods. It's about you, me, and everyone who relies on the interconnected web of global trade. So, what's fueling this new storm? Who are the main players? And what does it mean for the future of globalization? Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll have a clearer picture and maybe a few questions of your own. The next global trade war is not a distant possibility, it's already taking shape. After years of relative calm, tensions have flared between the United States, China, and the European Union. But this time, more players are involved: India, Brazil, and even key African economies. The spark? A race for dominance in green technology and artificial intelligence. Countries are pouring billions into subsidies for their domestic industries. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act promises massive tax credits for clean energy firms, while the EU counters with its Green Deal industrial plan. China, on the other hand, continues to dominate the supply chain for critical minerals like lithium and cobalt, key components in electric vehicles and batteries. Tariffs are returning, but in a smarter way. Instead of just taxing goods, nations are imposing carbon tariffs on imports from countries that do not meet environmental standards. This move is reshaping global supply chains and creating friction like never before. What started as a climate policy is now morphing into a full-blown trade confrontation with ripple effects across every continent. The breaking point came when the U.S. announced a sweeping ban on advanced semiconductor exports to China, citing national security concerns. In response, China restricted the export of rare earth minerals, materials critical for high-tech products. This tit-for-tat move sent shockwaves through the tech industry. Prices of chips soared, and companies like Apple and Samsung warned of production delays. The European Union condemned both actions, calling for a rules-based trade system. But at the same time, it began stockpiling rare earths and negotiating alternative supply routes with African nations. The public reaction? Mixed and emotional. In the U.S., some hailed the measures as necessary to protect jobs and national security. In China, the narrative was about resisting Western containment. Social media exploded with hashtags like Tech War and Economic Iron Curtain. Meanwhile, smaller economies felt the squeeze. Vietnam, Thailand, and Mexico, countries that rely heavily on manufacturing, faced uncertainty as global supply chains fractured. Leaders in these nations scrambled to strike trade deals and avoid being collateral damage in what some experts now call Cold War 2.0, but in economics. The consequences of this escalating trade war are not confined to boardrooms or stock markets, they're felt in everyday lives. For consumers, the first impact is prices. From smartphones to electric vehicles, goods become more expensive as tariffs and export restrictions drive up costs. Inflation, already a concern in many economies, could skyrocket. For workers, jobs in export-driven sectors face massive disruption. In Europe, thousands of auto industry jobs are at risk, because of higher costs for battery components. In Asia, factories are seeing orders decline as Western buyers diversify away from China. For governments, political headaches are multiplying. Leaders are under pressure to protect local industries, but such measures often backfire, triggering retaliation. In the U.S., politicians are pushing for reshoring jobs, but building new factories takes time and massive investment. Meanwhile, Chinese policymakers emphasize self-reliance, doubling down on domestic innovation. Global institutions like the World Trade Organization are struggling to remain relevant. Disputes pile up faster than they can be resolved, and some experts fear that the WTO could become obsolete. And then there's the geopolitical angle. Trade wars rarely stay economic. They spill over into diplomacy and security. Already, military alliances and trade blocs are hardening. The U.S. is deepening ties with Japan and South Korea, while China strengthens its Belt and Road partnerships. If history teaches us anything, it's that economic conflicts can reshape global power structures, and this one could be the biggest shift since World War II. So, how does the world respond? Surprisingly, there's no single strategy. The European Union positions itself as a mediator, but also protects its own industries through green subsidies. India, sensing an opportunity, promotes its Make in India campaign, hoping to attract companies seeking alternatives to China. Africa and Latin America become battlegrounds for influence, with major powers offering loans and infrastructure projects in exchange for trade deals. For everyday people, the question is simple. Will this trade war make my life better or worse? Some argue that reshoring jobs could create new opportunities at home. Others worry that a fractured global economy means slower growth, higher prices, and more instability. Here's the bigger question. Is globalization ending or just transforming? If supply chains become regional, does that mean less efficiency but more security? Now, I want to hear from you. Should countries prioritize economic independence, even if it means giving up the benefits of global trade? Or is cooperation still the only way forward in a connected world? Think about it, because these decisions will not just shape markets, they will shape our future. Next global trade war is not science fiction. It's unfolding before our eyes, driven by technology, climate policy, and national security. And, like every great economic conflict in history, it won't just change numbers on a spreadsheet. It will change lives, jobs, and even nations. So, what can we do? Stay informed, understand the forces shaping the world economy, and remember, every choice governments make today has a ripple effect that could reach your home tomorrow. If this story taught us anything, it's that trade is never just about goods. It's about power, people, and priorities. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this journey through history, politics, and economics, hit that subscribe button for more stories that sharpen your English and expand your mind. Because here at StoryNews English, we believe that learning the world's stories is the first step to shaping its future. Thank you for watching the video. I wish you good health, happiness, and prosperity.